You're watching Study with Sudhir. This is your digital classroom. My name is T.S. Sudhir. This video is specifically for students of class 10, and irrespective of whether you are in CBSE, ICSE or any of the state boards in the country, you must listen to this video. In this video, I'm going to specifically talk about why class 10 is important, right? I find a very strange tendency among students who have passed out of class 10 and are now either in class 11, 12 or perhaps in college, who keep talking and telling students of class 10 that class 10 is actually not important. It makes no difference to your life and therefore you could chill, relax, just take it easy as far as class 10 is concerned. And unfortunately, there are some students who also listen to their advice. But I must tell you that they are right, but they are also wrong. And I will tell you in these two parts why they are both right about class 10 is not important, but they are also wrong when they say class 10 is not important. In my opinion, class 10 is important and also not important in a couple of ways, and I'll tell you exactly why so that you have the right perspective, you see things in the right context and perspective, right? First, I'll tell you why they are right. Because frankly, class 10 marks do not count, and that's a reality, especially when you compare it with your class 12 board marks, irrespective of again whether you are in CBSE, ISE or any of the state boards, because class 12 marks are what count when it comes to admission to higher educational institutions, colleges. And frankly speaking, once you move into class 11, no one really bothers about how much you scored in your class 10 board examinations. Number two, if you are a science student, right, the amount of time that you spent in class 10 studying history, civics, geography or any of the second languages would seem when you move into class 11 as a waste of time and energy and focus. You will think, what did I really gain by spending all that time learning about different aspects of geography or any of the languages? That they wouldn't serve a purpose. At least that's a mindset of many students. What they don't realize is that all this actually helps in the overall education. You need to be aware of what happens in the country historically, geographically, in terms of language, because it helps in communication. I know about people who studied a regional language, say Marathi or Telugu, when they were in school, and then they went on to other states and learnt other languages, but eventually the fact that they knew the language a little bit helped them later on in their careers. That also happens, so be aware of that. Point number three, the jump in the toughness quotient, what I call it, from class 10 to class 11 is quite steep in most subjects, and I've done a video on that, on how the difference is between class 10 and class 11. Class 10 would really seem like kid stuff compared to some of the concepts, toughness quotient in class 11 and class 12. So many people think that it's okay, let's take fresh guard like a cricketer does, like a batsman does, when we go to class 11, and that's when we can actually start studying. Until class 10 we can afford to take it easy, because irrespective of whether you get a 75% or a 90%, frankly doesn't really make much of a difference, because class 11 you are almost starting afresh, right, a new innings of sorts. Now while you are in class 7, point number 4, you actually spend a lot of time in extracurricular activities at school. You may take part in painting competitions, debate competitions, you may be part of the magazine editorial board in your school, in different school games you may be taking part, and that also may impact your final board examination results. So even if you do not do very well, you can always blame it on that, whereas in class 11 and 12, all these kind of distractions either do not exist or at least they are not there in that kind of number, right? So these are the reasons normally given by seniors to their juniors, saying that abhi chill karo, no need to kind of work very hard as far as your class 10 is concerned. But these seniors actually miss out on what I call is the big picture. They miss out on the big picture, and which is why they give this kind of what I call slightly immature kind of advice to their juniors in class 10, because class 10 is a base of sorts, right? Yes, the level is slow. The toughness quotient which I talked about is also low, and that's pretty understandable. But if you are going to think that I'm going to understand the concepts of chemistry and physics only from class 11, sorry, you are making a mistake. So do not please make that kind of a mistake. You need to know the basics in class 9, class 10 so that they are of help when you go to class 11 and 12. The class 10 board examinations, point number 2, are the first time you students are actually facing a test which is set by an external board examiner. Till class 9, of course, ICSE introduced class 9 board examinations last year, that is for 2020, but 2021 it's going to be a school examination again. But otherwise, the class 10 boards are the first big test that students actually face. And I don't mean to generalize, but I do know it from anecdotal evidence, that if you go for tuition, say to your own school teacher, and your own school teacher, in order to ensure that her tuition students do well, sometimes give tips or at least leak out a bit of the question paper to the tuition students, right? That also happens, at least in some cases. I'm not generalizing, but it does happen in some cases. So when you're facing the board examination, that is the first big neutral test, just like you have neutral umpires in cricket, right? So it's the first big neutral test that you are facing. So in that sense, it's a test of your true ability and mettle, right? Point number 3, preparing for a board examination with all the kind of pressures that you actually face, positive as well as negative, is almost like a curtain raiser. It's almost like a trailer. It's almost like a trailer to life in general, as to how you can actually face pressures in life, right? Because when you enter your whatever professions you seek to want to enter, plan to enter, you will face all kinds of pressures. So how good are you in being able to soak in the pressure and still being able to do well in the examinations? I know of students who become absolute nervous wrecks on the morning of the examination. So how good are you in facing up to all the pressure, all the external surround sound, the competition, the peer pressure, family pressure, everything, whether you are able to withstand all that and do that. So the board examinations help you test yourself as to how good or bad you finally are. Finally, get inspired. That's something which I really feel is something very, very important, because there will be moments in class 12 in particular where you get into a moments of self-doubt. Can I do it? Can I actually do well? Because class 12, the syllabus will be vast, and especially if you are preparing for competitive examinations, all the more reason where you will get into moments of loneliness, especially in this kind of a year where students are at home most of the time. So in that sense, there will be those moments of self-doubt. In those moments, you need to fall back on what you did in class 10, right? And I can tell you this really helps, because you can fall back on your excellent performance in class 10 and tell yourself, if you did well like that 2 years ago, you can do the same now in class 12, and get inspired by yourself. Use yourself to motivate you in order to get into a positive frame of mind. So that is something which is very, very important. Also, there is no reason, frankly, why students should not try to put their best foot forward. Why should you be happy with a 65%? Why should you be happy with a 72%? Why can't you tell yourself that I am capable of getting an 85, a 90, a 93? You are capable, so why not give it your best shot? Or is there something much more important that you need to do at that point in life while you are in class 10? If that's the case, then I have nothing to say. There's no argument. But otherwise, you should put your best foot forward. You should give it your best shot, and that should really be your position, and that will also help you psychologically, as I said, in both class 11 and 12. So look at the glass half full. Don't look at it half empty. Look at the big picture is what I will tell you, advise you, and ensure that your class 10 examination performance remains a performance that you will remember and tell people proudly about it for years to come. Thank you very much for watching. All the best to you.